Yo, what is good, Jets Nation? Welcome back to Jets Media. This is Richie. In this video, we're going to be breaking down the new look New York Jets 2022 defense. As you guys saw on my channel yesterday, I broke down the new look New York Jets offense, broke down all the new acquisitions, and we're basically going to be doing the same exact thing in today's video, but be talking about Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich's defense after the offseason, go over all the free agent acquisitions and the players that we got in the draft, looking over the depth chart and the roster and how it's looking going into 2022 with this New York Jets defense. Obviously, last year, the Jets defense was beyond bad. 32nd ranked defense. The New York Jets had a lot of young players and a lot of injuries on that side of the ball. So I feel like the New York Jets got a lot of new talent, and hopefully the most important factor of this defense is staying healthy, because there's no denying that the talent is there, and I'm super excited to break down the New York Jets defense heading into 2022. Before I get into the video, I just want to mention, if you guys are new to Jets Media, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much. I just hit 11,000 subscribers, so I want to say thank you to everybody that's been showing Jets Media support all throughout the offseason. And also, if you guys want to hit that like button, if you enjoyed the video, that really does help the video a lot. And if you guys want to check me out over on Instagram and Twitter, that is at NYJets_media. So with that being said, let's dive right in. So before we get into all the positions and all the roster and what the depth chart is looking like, let's talk about defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich and Robert Saleh's system, that 4-3 system. So what this is all about, right? Last year, Robert Saleh said the problem with the defense last year was not schematics. It was nothing to do with the scheme. It wasn't the system that they were running. It was basically they had a lot of young players, which is true, and a lot of injuries. And that's not me making excuses for the defense last year, because it was abysmal. You can say with a straight face that the pass rush was not going there. The bright spot of the defense last year was actually the secondary. The cornerbacks didn't have the best season. They were still, young and improving. Brandon Echols being a rookie, Bryce Hall being in year number 2. Those were our starting cornerbacks. And going into last year's, as a defense perspective, as Jets fans, we all thought the corners were going to get torched, but in reality, they actually stepped up and played some good football. Like I said, they did not light it up. They were not the best corners in the world, to the point where we're going to be, looking at these two corners as the future, because in reality, both of those two cornerbacks, and Brandon Echols and Bryce Hall, have been replaced, and now DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner are going to be the two starters. And we're going to get into the cornerbacks, don't worry, and talk about the depth, because that's pretty crazy. But last year, the biggest reason why I feel like this Jets defense struggled was for a lot of reasons. They did not have consistent pass rush, and without pass rush, the defensive system simply does not work, which is why they went out there and got Jermaine Johnson. They drafted Clemens, they got Martin, and they have Carl Lawson returning. They're hopeful that John Franklin Myers and Quentin Williams can continue their dominance in the trenches and even play even better. And what this defensive system is all about, you got to get length on the perimeter, which is what they did with Sauce, so they can make the wide receivers' job a lot harder when there's length, and all of a sudden the pass rush gets home to them earlier. So that's really what the system is all about, getting to the quarterback, having a consistent 4-man pass rush without even blitzing. If you can get 4 people on the defensive line that can consistently get to the quarterback, that's going to make this system really thrive, and I'm excited to see what happens. Jeff Ulbrich was definitely not the greatest defensive play caller last year, simply because, the defense just did not play well. So let's hope that he can learn from his mistakes and get this team going in the right direction on the defense, because we cannot be last in the league again next year. I'm not expecting that. I'm definitely expecting a big-time jump. Not into the top 10 defensive in the year. I don't think that's realistic, even though anything can happen. But I'm definitely expecting this defense to at least be top 20, top 15, because of the talent is there. So let's get into the players on this defensive side of the ball. So here is the roster and the depth chart that I created for the New York Jets. Obviously, it's not official. I don't really have anybody ranked over another. This is just my predictions. I could be wrong going into OTAs. So we'll start off with the safety unit, actually, because this is the one position that a lot of Jets fans wanted them to tackle in the draft, which they did not at all. So as of right now, we have Jordan Whitehead and Lamarcus Joyner as his 2 starting safeties, which is pretty interesting. Jordan Whitehead is the free agent acquisition that we got this year. Lamarcus Joyner was the free agent acquisition from last year, who got injured in week number 1 against Carolina and missed the entire season. And then for depth, we have Will Parks, Ashtyn Davis, Jason Pinnock, and Elijah Riley. So these guys are going to be all competing for jobs. They're all going to be competing for depth. And I feel like this unit, there's a lot of bodies here. I don't think that this is the strong unit of this team. I feel like this is the one position where you're scratching your head of, okay, who's going to be that guy that really steps up? Jordan Whitehead is going to be a player that I think Jets fans are going to fall in love with. I had one of my friends who was a Tampa Bay Buccaneers fan. When the Jets signed Jordan Whitehead, he shot me a text. He's like, yo, Richie, you just got to steal the free agency, because Jordan Whitehead is a player that you thought Jamal Adams was good. Wait till you see what Jordan Whitehead does when you're versus the Bills and he's just destroying Josh Allen, because that's what he's good at. It's stopping mobile quarterbacks. He's a guy that can play in the box, play high. He can blitz the quarterback. He can line up against tight ends. He's really good at, stopping the run. His coverage skills is not the best, but that's not what he's here for. He's here to be that guy to contain the mobile quarterbacks, play the quarterback spiral, also play in the box, play all over the field. He's a hard hitter as well, and I feel like Jordan Whitehead is going to be all over the field, and Jets fans are going to fall in love with him. Lamarcus Joyner as the free safety, I feel like Jets fans didn't really get to see him last year. I mean, we didn't, because he was injured in week number 1, but if you look at him throughout his career, he's been a solid safety everywhere he goes. Now, yes, he is up there in age. He's not in the prime of his career. I'm not expecting Lamarcus Joyner to be, a top safety in the NFL at all, but if he can stay healthy, the most important piece of Lamarcus Joyner staying healthy for me personally is his veteran presence in that secondary, the leadership in terms of being vocal, making sure that Sauce Gardner is doing the right thing, making sure that DJ Reed holding the secondary accountable, being that wise person in the secondary. I feel like that's what really held this team back last year, because the entire secondary was injured the entire season, especially in that safety unit. Marcus May went down the season-ending injury. All those guys were just banged up all season long, and Lamarcus Joyner, Robert Saleh says that he's so important to this defense because of his leadership in terms of being vocal, and you need to be having constant communication on the defense in the back end, and I feel like Joyner will be doing just that if he stays healthy all season. And then when it comes to the depth, Ashen Davis, he hasn't really had the best career so far with the Jets. He's been on the Jets for 2 years now. I'm not expecting too much from Ashen Davis this year. If his name is called, I feel like he is a player that is, a liability out there. I'm not giving up on him just yet. I just don't feel like Jets fans should feel like he is the future of the safety unit. I feel like he's going to be providing depth at this unit for the long term if they want to give him a second contract. But I feel like Ashen Davis, he's a quality player just to play that backup role, come in for certain packages, and if anybody's injured, he can definitely sub in. And then Will Parks, he did come in at the back end of the year, actually impressed me. Elijah Riley as well, and Jason Pinnock converted from corner to safety at the back end of the season, and I was pretty impressed with him. Now let's move on to the linebacker position, because that is another position that Jets fans are not really too comfortable with. So I wanted to start off this video talking about the two position groups that Jets fans are not really comfortable with, that being the safeties and the linebackers. So if you look at the depth chart right now, we have CJ Mosley, Quincy Williams, Hamza Nasruddin, Jamie Sherwood, Delshon Phillips. Those are the top guys that I'm looking at this linebacker unit. And I really feel like Jets fans need to realize that the coaching staff is extremely high on this linebacker room, so that should give us confidence, because last year we acquired Quincy Williams during the waiver wire claim situation in August, and he came out there and impressed me. I know that he's not the best linebacker. He is type of a guy that kind of overcommits on plays, and he's like a heat-seeking missile where if he hits you, it's a fantastic play, but he does sometimes get a little over-aggressive, and he over-pursuits his angles, and he just misses tackles. He's not that great in coverage, but I personally feel like Quincy Williams is one of those players that can develop. He's still young. I feel like Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich and the entire Jets coaching staff are going to get inside of the minds of Quincy Williams and unlock his potential. And then we have to give a lot of credit to CJ Mosley. CJ Mosley, as an individual player last year, that's coming off a career season. Now, it doesn't really feel that way because the Jets as a defense did not play good at all, but CJ Mosley had a career high in tackles. He had like the most tackles as a Jets linebacker in history, or top 2 or something like that. CJ Mosley did his job, and it's important for him to stay healthy this season because he is that quarterback. He is the leader of that defense. He's the captain of the ship. And then Hamza Nasruddin and Jamie Sherwood, they were both our draft picks last year. I'm expecting good things from them this year. I feel like Nasruddin will have a big time role, especially on special teams this year. But Jamie Sherwood, he's a guy that got a lot of playing time this year, but unfortunately he went down with an Achilles injury, so he was not able to finish off the season. And the coaching staff are high on them. They like their versatility. They like them transitioning from the safety position to the linebacker role. They're long, they're athletic, they're really good in coverage, and they have decent tackling ability. So let's hope that they can transition and have a really good jump in year number 2 and provide quality depth. Don't be shocked if the Jets look out there in free agency right now or the trade market to add more depth at the linebacker spot, because there is no denying that the linebacker position and the safety position are the two positions that lack the least amount of depth. So now moving on for those two positions, let's get into the big time spots of this Jets defense, and let's start with the cornerbacks. The cornerbacks are all of a sudden the deepest part of this defense, outside of the defensive line. Actually, I'll give that nod to the defensive line. That's the deepest position. But the cornerbacks now, that is the unit where it's young, it's exciting, and has so much potential, not only for this season, but for the future, because we added DJ Reed in free agency, and then we draft Sauce Gardner at number 4, and now those are your two starting cornerbacks. We have Michael Carter II, who is an absolute stud for the New York Jets last year as a rookie. He's going into year number 2. He's going to be the starting starting nickelback for the New York Jets. And now backing up DJ Reed is going to be Brendan Eccles. Backing up Sauce Gardner is going to be Bryce Hall. So what this tells me is that the New York Jets are doing a great job of developing these players and giving them opportunities to be depth. Because what this showed me last year, they threw Bryce Hall and Brendan Eccles as the starting cornerbacks. And I feel like their vision was, let's get these two players a lot of playing time so they get comfortable with the system and they develop for the long term. So when we improve this position next year, if their name has to be called, if one of DJ Reed or Sauce unfortunately goes down with an injury, that they have confidence in Bryce Hall or Brendan Eccles to step up. And I got all the confidence in the world in those two players. After seeing what Bryce Hall did in year number 2 and even Brendan Eccles as a 6th round rookie, I have all the confidence in one of those two players to step in if DJ or Sauce does go down with an injury. And I will say this, Bryce Hall I'm really high on, and it is kind of disappointing that he's not going to be able to start in year number 3 because I feel like he's a starting cornerback in this role. But at the end of the day, that's a really good problem to have. We have a starting caliber corner as our backup. That's how good this depth is, because Sauce Gardner is that good. He's that much of a difference maker. Now, Sauce Gardner is the piece to this defense that I'm expecting to take it to another level. Now, he is a rookie. We cannot expect him to be an all-pro, Pro Bowl style corner in year number 1. But what Sauce Gardner is going to bring to this Jets defense is a completely different dynamic, because he brings a dimension of length, versatility, someone that can play man and zone. He can blitz the quarterback. He is the perfect piece to this defense. Think of Richard Sherman in the Pete Carroll days of the Legion of Boom. That style of cornerback is what the Jets are trying to develop Sauce Gardner into. Now, is he going to become the next Richard Sherman? We do not know, but the truth is he has the potential to become one. He is the best corner in this draft. He's one of the best corners to come out of this draft, in my opinion, since Jalen Ramsey. I always felt like way before the Jets were even any consideration of drafting Sauce Gardner, months and months and months ago, I was watching Sauce Gardner at Cincinnati. I'm like, wow, he is probably one of my favorite corners coming out of the draft in quite some time, and probably the best cornerback prospect to come out of the draft in a while. And now he's on the Jets. So Sauce Gardner has that swag to him. Off the field and on the field, he has that ability to just lock down players. I mean, 3 years at Cincinnati, not giving up a damn touchdown. Don't expect that to continue in the NFL, but that tells you that he's a lockdown corner. He can play man, he can play zone, he can play all over the field, and I'm excited to see what he can do as a rookie, and especially for the future. Now, DJ Reed is a player that is coming off a really dominant season in Seattle. Those 2 seasons in Seattle, similar system, plays on the right side of the field. He's short. He's literally the polar opposite of Sauce Gardner, actually, because he's small compared to Sauce Gardner, who's 6'3". But DJ Reed is a really good ball hawk. He's someone that has really tight man-to-man coverage as well as zone. And I'm expecting DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner to be playing really good football. And then getting into Michael Carter II, he's a guy that's going to be playing his best football of his career next year, in my opinion. I mean, as a 5th-round rookie last year, for the things that he did as a rookie by sacking Tom Brady, by just locking up people throughout the middle of the field. I'll never forget week 1 against the Carolina Panthers. It was a one-on-one matchup with Michael Carter II, and I believe it was Marshall, and Sam Darnold threw a fade route, a slot fade route. I think it was 4th down, one of the first drives of the game, and Michael Carter II was playing man coverage and absolutely just had a crazy pass deflection. And I was watching the game live. I was in the stadium, and I saw that, and I was like, wow, that was impressive for Michael Carter II's first time ever seeing the ball getting thrown his way. He really wowed me. And then the rest of the season, we saw him take strides in the right direction. Michael Carter II is a big piece of this defense that Jets fans need to realize. And of course, there's other players across this Jets secondary that's going to be providing depth, that's going to be fighting for roles like Javelin Guidry, like Isaiah Dunn, all those other guys. I'm excited to see what they can do to provide depth on this cornerback room. But there's no denying that the cornerback room for the Jets all of a sudden looks like the biggest strong suit in terms of depth and youth for the future. Now let's get into the best part of this Jets defense, which is also the most important part of this Jets defense, because we all know that Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich preach the importance of getting to the quarterback, and that is the defensive line. This defensive line is pretty much 10 to 11 people deep, and it's going to be really interesting to see who makes the final roster, who's going to be on the practice squad, because these guys, there's so many names to break down. So we got Carl Lawson returning from injury. We have Quinnen Williams, John Franklin Myers, and Jermaine Johnson. We have Vinny Curry returning from last year. He's re-signed. Obviously, he did not play with the Jets last year. He was out for the season. Sheldon Rankins, Solomon Thomas, Jacob Martin, Michael Clemens, the rookie, Jonathan Marshall from last year's rookie class, Bryce Huff, and even throw in Jabari Zuniga's name. I mean, this defensive line runs deep, and I'm expecting them to have a constant rotation of 10 guys having fresh legs, and that's what it's all about. I feel like the biggest X factor to the Jets defensive line. I am not concerned about them getting to the quarterback as much as I'm concerned about them stopping the run. That was a big time problem for the New York Jets last year. We were not able to, clog the holes at the line of scrimmage and stop the running backs from getting to the second level. And that's another reason why I feel like this Jets defense will improve in the run game, because we have really good tacklers now in the secondary, like a Sauce Gardner and a Jordan Whitehead. Those guys are a little better at tackling than the other players we had last year, which will help out the run game, of course. But we need to make sure that we have a run stuffer, which we kind of don't. Foley Fatukasi was that run stuffing defensive lineman last year. I know a lot of Jets fans wanted to draft an interior defensive lineman this year, including myself, like a Travis Jones or a player that can replace Foley to stop the run. We simply don't have that dominant run stuffer. But everybody else on the field, Quinnen Williams is a player that can both stop the run and rush the passer. I feel like he might be the X factor for this defensive line, in my opinion, because he's been playing like an above average defensive tackle, in my opinion, for the first 3 seasons of his career. He has not lived up to that 3rd overall pick hype just yet, and he knows it, which is a really good sign that Quinnen Williams believes that he has not reached his own potential, which is only going to light a fire within himself to achieve that potential. I feel like Quinnen Williams is a player where he has a string of games where he just takes over, dominates, has a 1.5 sack game, just has like 4 tackles for loss or something crazy like that, and then he disappears for 3 straight games, and then he has another dominant game, if that makes any sense. And this is not me making excuses for Quinnen, but in my opinion, the way you unlock Quinnen Williams is by getting consistent dominant edge rushers around him, so it will unlock him and teams do not have to worry about doubling Quinnen Williams. So Carl Lawson returning from injury is a big time reason why I feel like Quinnen is going to be unlocked, as well as the additions to Jermaine Johnson on the outside, and even Jacob Martin is a player that I feel like will provide depth. Now let's talk about Carl Lawson real quick, because we need to remind ourselves what he was doing in training camp last year. Carl Lawson was the best player for the Jets in training camp last year before he unfortunately ruptured his Achilles in Green Bay during that joint practice. So we do not know if Carl Lawson is going to be back to his former self, because we know that Achilles injury is an injury that it's really hard to get back from. But the good news is he got that injury in training camp last year, so he had so much time to rehab, and he should be good to go by training camp. It's not like he had that injury, in November. Then it'll be a little different situation where he's probably going to miss the first portion of the season, and that's not the case. So let's hope that Carl Lawson is healthy and ready to go. And then John Franklin Myers, I think, is one of the most underappreciated, underrated players on this entire Jets defense. What he did last year at the beginning of the season was seriously amazing, and Joe Douglas went out there and made sure that he extended him, because if we did not extend John Franklin Myers and he went into free agency, first of all, we would have to pay him more money. And second of all, if we missed out on re-signing John Franklin Myers, this Jets defensive line will have a big-time hole, because John Franklin Myers is a perfect piece that can line up on the outside and line up on the inside, and he's a versatile weapon for the New York Jets. He's somebody that has dominated the trenches, and we saw what he did against the Houston Texans. He had the interception. He took over the game. He was just dominating every single second you looked at the film. He had a lot of games where he is winning his one-on-ones pretty much every single time. If you watch the tape, he's a player that almost 8 out of 10 times he's winning his matchup, but he does not always get to the quarterback. He's not always sacked them. So you cannot just look at John Franklin Myers' numbers and see how many sacks he had and feel like he had a good production or not, good production that season or not. You have to look at the tape. You have to watch what he did every single play. John Franklin Myers, I have a lot of high expectations for him. And then, of course, the free agent acquisitions we added to this Jets defensive line. We had Jacob Martin from the Houston Texans, who's a speedy edge rusher who's going to be providing depth and coming in on 3rd down pass downs, if I had to guess. Solomon Thomas, who's the player that I predicted the Jets to bring in free agency, who was with the San Francisco 49ers when they went to the Super Bowl. He was another top 3, top 4 pick with San Francisco. He never really lived up to that hype. He had a lot of injury concerns, but last year with the Raiders, he played all 17 games. He was part of the rotation, and he's just a guy that's going to be, having those fresh leg opportunities, replacing Foley Fatukasi. And I'm not really expecting Solomon Thomas to break out and become like that 3rd overall pick he was supposed to be for San Francisco, but he's definitely going to be providing depth. And then Sheldon Rankins, he didn't really have the best season last year, but we know that he's the pass rushing interior defensive lineman, so we will see what he can do. Jonathan Marshall, we got him from last year's draft class. I feel like he did show a lot of flashes last year when his name was called. Bryce Huff, he has been dealing with a lot of injury concerns, so hopefully he could be healthy this year and provide depth there. And then Michael Clemens, low-key, could be the piece to this defense that will shock a lot of Jets fans. If you watch his highlights, you watch his tape, he just screams like a Robert Saleh style pick. Powerful, gets to the quarterback with urgency, plays with violence, plays with an edge to him. Not a speedy guy that bends the corner like a Jacob Martin. He's more of that power guy. And of course, to finish off this defensive line, we got to talk about my guy Jermaine Johnson, because Jermaine Johnson could be the reason why this Jets defensive line takes that next step of getting to the quarterback consistently. Because not only is Jermaine Johnson a player that is known to be a good pass rusher, he had double-digit sacks last year. He's also extremely good at stopping the run, which is something that this Jets defensive team did not do good at all last year. So Jermaine Johnson, getting him in the back end of the first round is such a big time upgrade to this Jets defensive line depth and production. I'm expecting big things from Jermaine Johnson immediately. That's another thing about Johnson that I love, that he's ready to go right now. He's not going to be that developmental piece that we have to wait for him to break out. I feel like he's ready to go. He's like 22 years old. He's ready to play football right now, and he's going to be providing a big time impact this season. So now that's really my thoughts about all the players on this Jets defense. Now, to wrap up the video, let's talk about their weaknesses last year that we really need to make sure that the Jets focus on. And that's definitely number one, stopping the screen passes. This Jets defense is a liability, and that's the scheme as a whole. If any defense that runs this similar scheme around the league, they all know that they're very vulnerable to the screen pass, because the Jets defensive line's job is to get a lot of pressure. So when the 4 defensive linemen get an opportunity to get to the quarterback, that frees up the running back, or frees up the linebacker, the running back, and it gives them so much room to work with. So the Jets defense really needs to think of a game plan to make sure that they're not that susceptible to those screen passes. And of course, they need to stop the run and get a consistent pass rush, because without the pass rush, this defense is just not going to work. And I feel like this Jets pass rush will be the best it's been in quite a long time with all the acquisitions on the defensive line. And I'm super excited to see what they do. So let me know your thoughts about the new look New York Jets defense in 2022. What's your expectations? I'm definitely expecting an improvement from this unit. I don't think it's going to be a big time jump from like 32nd to top 10, but I really hope that they can at least get into the top 20, because that will do a lot of things for Zach Wilson in this offense. And we can say that the offense on paper is definitely better than the Jets on paper on defense, but I'm okay with that, because Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Jordan Whitehead, Jermaine Johnson, Jacob Martin, all those guys that we added to this Jets defense in the offseason, I feel like are going to be a big reason why they turned the corner. And I'm excited to see this Robert Saleh Jets defense really take that next step. And it's all about health. Please stay healthy, and let's see what they can do. Let me know your thoughts down below if you guys enjoyed the video, and comment down below a jet emoji if you stayed all the way until the end, because I know this was a longer video. So again, guys, I appreciate you guys watching my Jets media video, my breakdown of the Jets 2022 defense. Don't forget to comment down below your thoughts of the defense and your thoughts of the video, and please do not forget to like the video if you guys enjoy, and I'll catch you guys in my next one. Let's go Jets. Peace.